15 incredible Saudi Arabian facts that will leave you speechless. 15. Arabia, the center of West Asia. Saudi Arabia is a country rich in oil reserves and rich in mystery and individuality. With a total area of 2.15 million square kilometers, nearly the size of all of Western Europe combined, it is the largest nation in the Middle East and is situated on the Arabian Peninsula. In addition to the Red Sea to the west, it borders 8 other countries: Jordan, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Yemen, and Bahrain. It's interesting to note that despite its size, 90% of the region is desert, making it one of the driest areas on Earth devoid of natural rivers. This place has a harsh environment. Summer temperatures can rise beyond 50 degrees Celsius. Ironically, snowfall occurs in some northern places throughout the winter, producing a breathtaking view of a white desert that resembles a scene from a science fiction film. About 36 million people, mostly of Arab ancestry, call Saudi Arabia home as of 2024. It is noteworthy, although, that migrant laborers from other nations, particularly Bangladesh, Egypt, Pakistan, and India, make up over 30% of the population. Although Arabic is the official language, English is widely spoken as a second language in places like Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam. You can place an order in English without understanding a word of Arabic, whether you're in a posh cafe or a retail mall. One of the few nations that still has an absolute monarchy, in which the king has unrestricted authority and no formal constitution, is Saudi Arabia. Sharia Islamic law serves as the foundation for all laws. Notably, unlike in other nations, there are no elections, and the king has the power to choose or remove the successor. Being the location of the 2 towns of Mecca and Medina, this country is the holiest place for Islam and has a 100% Muslim population. 14. Conventional weddings without the bride. If you believe that the ultimate in luxury is a Hollywood wedding complete with jewels and supercars, you're mistaken. Saudi Arabian traditional weddings will make you think twice. Here, a wedding is not only a momentous occasion, but also an extravagant display with jewels that gleam more brilliantly than chandeliers and expenses that can amount to tens of millions of dollars. It's interesting that the bride and groom do not cross paths during the celebration. In Saudi Arabia, men and women usually celebrate their weddings separately. It's another world in the women's banquet hall. No headscarves or abayas, only the most opulent dresses from Dior, Chanel, and Elisab. Even a female singer is performing, which is extremely uncommon in Saudi Arabia. In contrast, the men's party is a regal event that includes lamb, enormous plates of rice, endless Arabic coffee, and dates. They frequently dress in long white robes called thobes and perform the traditional Arda dance. Only after the ceremony, in a chamber brimming with gold-plated presents, do the bride and groom finally meet. All things considered, Saudi weddings are lavish, ornate affairs, with a strong sense of tradition and distinct gender roles. Are you curious about the bridal dowry that the bride receives from the groom's family? If you're curious, leave a comment with the number 3. 13. The land of exceptionally beautiful women. Among nations with a majority of Muslims, Saudi Arabia is renowned for having some of the most equal rights for women. Prior to 2018, they could only dream about driving, but today they are able to drive and work as taxi drivers. It's interesting to note that most Saudi Arabian women still wear the traditional black abaya, even though they are not obliged to cover their faces. Did you know that upscale labels like Dior and Gucci can create opulent abayas that cost tens of thousands of dollars? And you wouldn't believe that underneath those black clothes, they might be decked out in Gucci, Prada, or Chanel, all of which are encrusted with millions of dollars worth of diamond bracelets, rings, and necklaces. Don't be fooled by the modest appearance of traditional Saudi women. Anyone can be enthralled by their regal beauty, high cheekbones, pointed eyebrows, and deep eyes. And just one look might leave you speechless when they remove their sunglasses. They may display affection differently than American ladies, but they are nonetheless quite attractive. You may be wondering how women get to know their spouses before marriage in a nation with so many stringent laws. Making eye contact is an art form for Saudi ladies. A casual gaze in a mall or cafe could be a subliminal invitation to go on a date. Many people converse on Instagram, WhatsApp, or Snapchat instead of in person. There are more and more private places for couples to meet without being interrupted, including cafes or restaurants with family-only sections in bigger cities like Riyadh and Jeddah. It can be difficult to marry a Saudi woman if that's your goal. If you would like to know why, leave a comment with the number 7. 12. Saudi Arabia's national symbol is the camel. For thousands of years, camels have been a part of desert people's life as means of transportation, as providers of milk and meat, and even as competitors in some of the world's most unusual beauty pageants. Camel life is more than just an animal in Saudi Arabia. They are emblems of wealth and prestige. Here, a gorgeous camel can fetch over $50 million, which is significantly more than a Rolls-Royce. Although in the West, a Ferrari or Lamborghini is a symbol of riches. But not every camel is worth millions of dollars. Even more severe than Miss Universe, Saudi Arabia holds a camel beauty pageant in which the four-legged competitors are evaluated on their wide lips, long necks, and well-proportioned humps. It's one of the most costly animal contests in the world, with awards up to $66 million for each contest. That's not all, though. The largest camel hospital in the world is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, worth millions of dollars, offering these desert supermodels everything from X-rays to medical examinations and therapies. When traveling between Gulf countries, some very costly camels even have their own passports that allow them to travel across borders in first class. If you're fortunate enough to travel to a Saudi Arabian airport, you may even see a camel relaxing in the VIP section while enjoying date milk in a top-notch lounge. It's reasonable to assume the camels are considered a whole new level of prestige in Saudi Arabia and are not just common pets. 11. The distinct and funny culture of coffee and tea. In Saudi Arabia, coffee and tea are more than just drinks. They stand for authority, friendliness, and prestige. Saudi coffee is very different from the typical espresso or latte. It is made with gently roasted Arabica beans, has a light brown hue, and tastes bitter and spicy. It is often served without sugar, but is frequently flavored with cardamom, saffron, or cloves to give it a decidedly desert flavor. The distinctive feature is that coffee is usually poured into tiny, handleless cups from a traditional dalla pot. Because coffee is poured with the right hand and it is considered impolite to fill it to overflowing, you will only be given half a cup. In Saudi Arabia, drinking coffee involves several important customs in addition to the beverage itself. You use your right hand to hold the cup, and you don't say anything when you want a refill. More will be automatically poured by the server. When you're done, you shake the cup gently to indicate that you're done. If not, they will keep filling it up. As a polite gesture, Saudis frequently offer coffee first, then tea to wrap up the discussion. It's interesting to note that up until 2019, the majority of Saudi Arabian cafes and restaurants featured distinct sections for men and women. The singles part was reserved for males only, while the family sector was for women and families. But Saudi Arabia has relaxed this rule after the end of 2019. International coffee companies like Starbucks, Costa Coffee, and Tim Hortons now have open areas for both men and women in places like Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam. 10. One of the richest and most influential royal families in the world is the Al Saud family. The Al Saud royal family, one of the richest and most influential families in the world, comes to mind when you hear Saudi Arabia. Since 1744, this family has dominated Saudi Arabia, and it still holds sway today. Only around 2,000 of the 15,000 members of the royal family currently retain substantial wealth and power. With an estimated fortune of over $1.4 trillion US, greatly exceeding that of the British royal family, this royal family not only controls the nation, but also the economy. The Al Saud family is particularly revered by the Saudi populace, who view them as both the country's rulers and the guardians of Islam. Questioning or criticizing the royal family may be viewed as an insult to the country and have unintended repercussions. Schools, government buildings, and private companies all include portraits of the king and crown prince. It's interesting to note that in Saudi Arabia, the king is frequently seen as a father figure by the entire population, in contrast to many other nations that clearly distinguish between government and royalty. It is still customary for citizens to approach the monarch or princes personally with letters or requests for help. 9. A metropolis of amazing peculiarities, Riyadh is not like any other capital city in the world. It's a location where skyscrapers and deserts mix, where bold new aspirations coexist with conservative customs. Riyadh could appear to be a deserted city if you venture outside in the morning. At lunchtime, temperatures can reach 50 degrees Celsius, which makes most people stay indoors. With streets humming, markets open, premium cafes crowded, and highways brimming with exotic vehicles, ranging from Rolls-Royce to Bugatti, Riyadh comes alive as the sun sets. You may drive supercars down the boulevards like in a Hollywood film at Boulevard Riyadh City, which is lighted by neon lights, live music, and opulent restaurants offering everything from Japanese sushi to Arabic grilled food. You can also visit The Zone, a collection of contemporary cafes and upscale lounges. Visit the Sky Bridge of the Kingdom Tower, Riyadh's most famous structure, for a one-of-a-kind experience. From here, you may sip a non-alcoholic cocktail at the fancy restaurants below and take in a stunning view of the city's glittering lights. Another place to visit is Riyadh Front, a recently developed retail, dining, and entertainment complex that draws high-end eateries and global brands. At night, it serves as a location for several art exhibits, DJ parties, and music events. Don't miss Diriyah, the ancient city where the Al Saud royal family was born. This region, which was established as Saudi Arabia's first capital in the 15th century and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is home to historic palaces, mud brick alleys, and strongholds. With 7-star hotels, ancient institutions, and Michelin-starred restaurants amidst the legacy, Diriyah is notably being transformed into one of the most opulent travel destinations in the world. Which location in Riyadh, the capital, is your favorite? Please share in the comments section. 8. A $500 billion smart and sustainable megacity along the Red Sea, Neom is a groundbreaking urban project in Saudi Arabia. Its goal is to change the country's economy and lessen its reliance on oil. This is more than simply a metropolis. It is a symbol of the urbanization of the future, where green energy, artificial intelligence, and technology come together to create a completely new way of life. The Line, a car-free city without streets that is 170 kilometers long, 500 meters high, and only 200 meters wide, is the most notable feature. It is surrounded by enormous mirrors that form a wall of the future in the desert. Only 20 minutes will be needed to commute from one end to the other thanks to the transportation system's complete reliance on high-speed underground trains. AI will be included into every facility, such as housing, healthcare, education, and entertainment, guaranteeing that inhabitants can get all necessary services within a 5-minute walk. Interestingly, 95% of the space will be devoted to nature, which will support the city's efforts to meet sustainable development standards. A 50-square-kilometer octagonal industrial zone will also be established, serving as a center for logistics and technology through the use of robotics and artificial intelligence. The development will also include an opulent resort. But because the area is so hot and dry, building a sustainable green city is a difficult undertaking. The project may end up costing far more than anticipated. Even though a future metropolis like Neom can seem alluring, persuading millions of people to go and work there is a difficult task. Is Neom really a possibility? Answering this question will take time. Will it come to pass? It will take time for the answer to become clear. Number 7. The calendar used in Saudi Arabia differs from that of the West. Time moves with the moon in Saudi Arabia rather than the sun as it does in the West. Holidays like Ramadan and Eid change with the seasons because the Islamic calendar, Hijri, contains 354 or 355 days, which is 11 days less than the Gregorian calendar. It's interesting to note that because the Hijri year is shorter in Saudi Arabia, your salary will arrive sooner each year. This calendar is used to determine birth dates, contracts, and government papers. For example, a person who is 40 years old in the Hijri calendar is actually roughly 38 in the Gregorian calendar. Additionally, a person can observe Ramadan throughout their lifetime in any season, because the schedule is determined by the lunar cycle. For this reason, Saudi Arabia does not celebrate New Year's like the West does. Despite not celebrating the New Year, some Saudis continue to host small parties at home or private events in hotels, particularly among young people in big cities like Riyadh and Jeddah. 6th, the most unusual tourist destinations in Saudi Arabia. Al-Ula may shock you if you believe Saudi Arabia is only about oil and desert. Known as the Arab Petra, Madain Saleh, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is located there. The enormous sandstone formations will give you the impression that you have entered an old-fashioned adventure film because of their intricately carved architecture. The most remarkable aspect? A great location for photographs is Elephant Rock, a huge natural rock structure in the desert that resembles a gigantic elephant. Jeddah is a coastal paradise with turquoise beaches, contemporary structures, and lively ancient alleyways that contrast with the arid surroundings. Visit the historic district of Al-Balad, where centuries-old coral buildings await you if you're up for a little artistic mayhem. The King Fahd Fountain, the tallest fountain in the world, is located in Jeddah. It shoots water up to 312 meters, which is higher than the Eiffel Tower without its antenna. The Corniche Beach in Jeddah, which has gorgeous white sand and crystal-clear waters, is another place to unwind. Savor delectable seafood delicacies at the eateries along the shore while taking a stroll along the shore. Dammam, the entrance to the Persian Gulf, comes last. This city is known for its bustling atmosphere, peaceful beaches, and mouth-watering seafood markets. Visit Murjan Island, which has a tower rising from the sea that resembles a strange fortress in the ocean, if you're looking for a bizarre experience. Dammam is ideal for witnessing stunning sunrises over the sea, because it is one of the locations in Saudi Arabia where the sun rises the earliest. Every place you visit in Saudi Arabia captures the distinct character of the nation and its citizens. 5th, unbelievably, Saudi Arabia is the world's largest oil exporter with 267 billion barrels of oil, which makes up 17% of the world's oil reserves and ranks second only to Venezuela. The nation produces 10 to 11 million barrels of oil per day, significantly more than both the United States and Russia. As a result, Aramco, the world's biggest oil firm, is now valued at more than $2 trillion. Saudi Arabia's economy is based mostly on oil, which accounts for over 70% of the national budget and has allowed the government to embark on some of the most ambitious projects in the world. Saudi Arabia, which has virtually no rivers, gets its fresh water from the biggest desalination plants in the world. 5 million people could be supplied with the more than 7 million cubic meters of water produced daily by the largest plant on Earth, Ras Al Khair. Saudi Arabia is demonstrating its ability to manage its water resources despite being a desert country. That's not all, though. Space is another target for Saudi Arabia. Rayana Barnawi became the first Arab woman to visit the International Space Station, ISS, in 2023. In 2018, Saudi Arabia formed the Saudi Space Commission and joined forces with NASA and other international partners to realize its aspirations of exploring the Moon and Mars. This oil-rich country wants to leave its mark on other worlds in addition to using Earth's resources. Fourth, Saudi Arabians' flexible time culture. Time in Saudi Arabia is based on the rhythm of people and life rather than the passing of the clock. Don't be shocked if someone turns up at 9 or even 10 p.m., grinning as though the meeting had been scheduled for 8 p.m. Not because they don't respect time, but in this situation, adaptability is more crucial than timeliness. If the talk is interesting and nobody is rushing to leave due to a timetable, meetings can go on forever. Even if a meeting at work starts hours late, nobody seems to mind. If a party invitation states that the main event will start at 8 p.m., it may start considerably later. In their view, a lengthy lunch, a meaningful conversation, or a leisurely cup of tea are more significant than strict deadlines. In conclusion, although the clock indicates the time in Saudi Arabia, humans determine when it is time. Maybe everyone would wish to try this way of life at least once in this fast-paced world. Third, festivals. Rich in cultural identity. September 23rd, Saudi National Day, is celebrated nationwide, with a dazzling display of color and more than just a day of remembering. People dress traditionally to participate in the street celebrations. Cities are illuminated with lights, and the skies are illuminated by fireworks. The air is filled with boisterous gatherings, folk dances, parades, and music. The most fascinating scene: supercars adorned with the flag of the country will be seen speeding through the streets. The celebration of the conclusion of Ramadan is another important holiday for Saudis. Eid al-Fitr is a time of unadulterated happiness following a month of fasting from sunrise to sunset. People get together with relatives for joyful meals brimming with delectable cuisines like kabsa, mandi, and salig, exchange gifts, and don new clothes. Notably, adults give children monetary gifts during Eidiyah, a beautiful custom that everyone looks forward to. Would you wish to participate in these two festivals if you were to visit Saudi Arabia? If the answer is affirmative, leave a comment with a 2. If not, leave a 3. Asia's distinctive culinary delights. Don't pass on the king of Arabian food when you're in Saudi Arabia. The well-known rice dish kabsa is prepared with lamb or chicken that has been seasoned with cardamom, cloves, and cinnamon. Every succulent morsel of meat is bursting with flavor. Unstoppable. Mandi is another delectable rice dish that stands out for its cooking technique. The ideal Middle Eastern meal is served with aromatic saffron rice and slow-cooked meat in clay pots, which retains its luscious delicacy and smoky scent. Arabian wheat porridge, or jarish, is thick and made with minced meat and hot spices. This classic recipe, which has a rustic yet appealing flavor, is a favorite on special occasions. Then there's the delicious stuffed pancake known as mutabak. A substantial filling of minced meat, onions, and strong spices is enclosed by a crispy shell. A well-liked, tasty, and reasonably priced street dish. Last but not least is salig, a rich, creamy rice that is frequently likened to Arabian risotto. The rice is cooked with butter, milk, and chicken broth, giving it an unrivaled smooth texture and delicious flavor. Do any of these foods sound familiar to you? Don't forget to enjoy them if you have the opportunity to travel to Saudi Arabia. 1. The cost of living in Saudi Arabia can be an exciting experience, but in order to correctly organize your budget, you must be informed of the prices. The cost of renting a one-bedroom flat in Riyadh and Jeddah is greater, ranging from $580 to $900. Expect to spend between $133 and $213 a month if you cook at home, whereas eating out typically costs between $4 and $8 per meal. Depending on usage, monthly utility rates for Wi-Fi, water, and electricity usually range from $120 to $180. If you don't have a car, you'll need between $80 and $133 for public transportation or taxi rides. Unless you have decent insurance, other costs like dental checkups might range from $50 to $100 per appointment. The cost of a gym membership can range from $53 to $107, and extra leisure pursuits could push your monthly budget up by several $100s. All things considered, $1,100 per month is adequate if you lead a modest life. You should budget at least $1,600 per month, however, for a more comfortable lifestyle. Would you think of moving here given these expenses? If so, select 1. Select 0 if not. Kindly provide your response in the comments section. Additionally, simply reply yes if you would like us to disclose the Saudi Arabian visa application process, and we will do so. We just looked at 15 interesting and unusual facts about Saudi Arabia. I hope this opened your eyes to a new side of the nation. Remember to support us by liking, sharing, and following our channel. See you at the following one.